Hi, everyone. Welcome to Café IBTTA, where we drink coffee and talk about things that are interesting, relevant, uplifting, and fun. I'm Pat Jones. My guest today is J.J. Eden, Executive Director of the North Carolina Turnpike Authority and a member of the IBTTA Board of Directors. J.J. has a distinguished career in the toll industry that spans more than 5 decades, and it's still going strong. On Monday, JJ was inducted into the American Road and Transportation Builders Association Hall of Fame. In 2017, JJ received the highest honor that IBTTA can bestow on any individual when he was named an honorary member of IBTTA. JJ, welcome to Cafe IBTTA. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks, Pat, and thanks for inviting me. I always like talking to people in IBTTA. Great group.
Good to have you. Well, we are taking your questions and comments, but first we want to pose a couple of poll questions to get a sense of the audience's familiarity with our guest. So let's bring up that first poll question, and you can provide your response right here on the screen, and we'll give it a few seconds for people to weigh in and register. All right, how well do you know JJ? Select the correct response, single choice. All right, we're up to 20. Come on, we've got almost 70 people on the line. Let's see some more voting here. All right. A few more votes coming in. What do you think, JJ? Does this audience know you?
Oh, it looks pretty well, huh? So, I think I got to scream from here. I actually put my glasses on. Let's see, Chief Engineer, Pennsylvania Turnpike. Yep. Oh, not chief. I was assistant chief actually. So.
Okay. Yeah. Four people. Four people really want to have you been on Elon Musk's SpaceX. You know. Okay, yeah. Kristen. Let's reveal the results. All right. So pretty good. 61% said all of the above, every item except number 3. Yeah, he hasn't been to SpaceX yet, but I wouldn't count him out. Huh, JJ? Any hankering for SpaceX?
We are talking to Tesla about some things in vehicles, so you never know, right?
All right, cool. All right, let's go on to poll number 2. Now that everybody's acclimated, you know where to go and vote in your poll. All right, how well do you know JJ? Select the correct response. Single choice. Yeah. Okay. And only one vote so far for JJ. Developed the fur sink. Yeah. He's the founder of ATI. Okay. 83% at this point. All of the above, none of the above. Okay. We're doing pretty well. Keep those votes coming on in. 47 of 77. All right. I think we've got a very knowledgeable group here, JJ. Kristen, let's go ahead and do the big reveal. Yep, by 82%, people recognize that JJ is the founder of the Alliance for Toll Innovation. Yep, didn't develop the fur sink or the internet. You know, much to the chagrin of Al Gore. All right. Well, this has been fun. So we're going to learn even more about JJ, and of course, we're taking your questions. And I encourage you to place your questions in the chat using all panelists and attendees or everyone. And JJ, just to start off, I mentioned at the outset that on Monday you were inducted into the Hall of Fame for ARTBA, and I just want you to reflect, what was that like? What made it special? And were there any significance to about the inclusion of tolling? What do you think?
I think you hit it, Pat. It wasn't. I didn't see it as about me. I saw it as we have a large organization with a lot of influence in the country, especially on the Hill, that actually recognize the project in tolling, right? We do so much and we advance so much in transportation and safety, and we're not we don't really see a lot of recognition at this level. And, you know, as I said in my acceptance speech, this wasn't about me. There's a lot of people that helped uh, EasyPass start and continue. You know, working with EasyPass is like a marriage. You have to work it. It's up and down. There's a lot of, it's when you have 50 toll agencies now trying to manage, you know, transferring billions of dollars and lots of transactions. It's a challenge, even with the rules in place, and people want to change the rules. And it's a lot of people over the years, always there, always willing to take a chance, always willing to move forward. So it was really touching. I thought the event went very well. To be honored with other people, I had worked with Congressman Mineta before at AECOM, at Lockheed Martin rather, and he was a phenomenal guy with amazing past, from internment during World War II as a Japanese American to to running transportation and homeland security for the U.S. To Eisenhower, to the person who invented the traffic light. The group that's in that is well beyond where I should be, I feel. And but I think for tolling, it was a mark in time for more to come.
Yep, yep, absolutely. Norm Mineta was an innovator, and you're an innovator. JJ, you often talk about transformation in our industry. And I wonder if you could reflect on some of the biggest transformations you've seen in your 50 plus year career.
Well, Pat, when I started, you know, actually before I started, my dad used to take me on the Pennsylvania Turnpike to Howard Johnson's for ice cream. And we used to stop and talk to the toll collector for 10 or 15 minutes. And, you know, how's your day? And you knew everybody. You know, we've gone from there to high-speed toll collection. And it wasn't a revolution, it was an evolution. And that evolution is continuing. I mean, I don't know how many people remember treadles and the asbestos problem we had in treadles and trying to get them to work. And then, you know, slugs with all the different when we had coin machines, all the different technologies we went through to detect slug detection. And then talk about interoperability. We had two states that were very close to each other in the Northeast that used the same coin, basically. But the rates were different. So people would go to the cheaper state and then use them in the more expensive state. And, you know, we went through that. And then the mag stripe ticket with Pennsylvania Turnpike and New Jersey, New York started with punch tags and the 80-column punch card. And we went from there to mag stripe. And we didn't realize that people were putting, at that time, really high-level stereos in their car. And you put the ticket on the dashboard and it would erase the stripe. You had to go to a high-density stripe. So we've evolved considerably. And then when we went to electronic toll collection, and everybody thinks EasyPass was first, it wasn't. It was Dallas who went first at that. You know, we all had to do our own thing. So Dallas had one technology, EasyPass had another, and we continued to evolve there. So nobody thought interoperability would be important at that point. Everybody was doing their own little local thing. You know, so, and then everybody was concerned, we went to all electronic toll collection with leakage. And, you know, the video didn't really work well. And we did the shootout here in North Carolina and cheated a little bit, brought in some mil-spec stuff, and, you know, went over that. And then the multi-protocol reader for interoperability. And, you know, we're continuing to grow into the future. The one thing I think we learned, it's not about tech, although I just spend a lot of time talking about tech. It's about people. It's about people being able to work together. It's about the business rules. It's about how we set in motion how to work with the technology. I always say, don't give me technology and look for a problem. Give me the problem and we'll see if technology fits.
Right.
So, you know, we've really, really come a long way from those days back in my, you know, 57 Studebaker and driving through the Pennsylvania Turnpike and others to today, where you just kind of whiz through.
You've talked a lot about the transformations that have happened in the industry in the deep past and in the recent past. And perhaps one of the biggest transformations we'll see is this digital payment gateway, which you and others, the digital payment gateway that you and others talked about at the Indianapolis Tech Summit. And I wonder if you could offer some reflections on that digital payment gateway and its significance to our industry.
Yeah, so one thing we figured out to learn from others, right? We brought Disney in to look at our customer service here, the Disney Institute, and we're looking at what makes Amazon so great in their customer service, what makes Apple so great in their customer service, and how can we do that too, right? How can we be better to our customers while reducing our costs? So we actually, a couple of us got together, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and us in Florida, and we started looking at the technologies. We just transitioned our back office. Florida's in process, Pennsylvania's in process, Ohio's in process, and what can we do better? And we looked at what's happening in the banking industry. And this year, for some reason, I have a couple banks, and transferring funds from one to the other is by mail. And this year, they're going to start doing it digitally. And we started looking at what's happening on that side, coupled with what's happening with the connected vehicle market. I also run the Advanced Technology Committee for our DOT here, and we brought some companies in to speak to them and realized that in 7.5 seconds, if you have a card that you can open with your cell phone, you could add a credit card to that account. And with GPS, now there's bumps to come. How do we reconcile that transaction? And how do we take advantage of that future market? In addition, we looked at all these apps. There's probably 20 apps out there now, and how do you manage all these apps if we're agencies, and are they going to be national, and will that create an interoperability problem in itself? And then how do we compete? Parking's bigger than tolling, right? Fast food's bigger than parking, and they're all looking at solutions to the same thing to reduce their cost. And the in-vehicle payment system stuff is probably a really good solution. Car companies are now also looking at it. There's 2 car companies that actually have systems, Audi and Mercedes. And if we don't do this, will we be eaten? So, it's right now, tolling is in a great position. We're the only people doing in-car payment. We've had years of doing in-car payment, back from when cash was king and there was the interoperable, the ultimate interoperability tool was cash, to now where we're seeing the transponder. What's the future? Is the car the future? No, it's a transition. It's an evolution, like everything has been, not a revolution. And not that we have to move to it today, but how do we make sure we're ready for it tomorrow? And what's happening? So we got together with, it turned out to be 14 states, 21 agencies, put together an RFI, Pennsylvania. Mark put it out of Pennsylvania, did a great job with it. We thought, we got about 3 times more response than we had anticipated. We weren't really happy with the way we traditionally as an industry do evaluations, so we did it as a request for information, realizing some companies were reluctant to talk about intellectual property. We set up private meetings with some of the companies to talk through some of that IP and some of the ideas and concepts that they would have moving to these transitions. And it's interesting. We got banks, we've got big tech companies, we got a lot of cross responses. We have people that are currently in the industry to come in and talk to us about where they see this market going. And again, not just for tolling, but for digital payments, in vehicle payment. And we learned a lot, and we're going to continue to move forward. It's not a closed group. We're not looking at starting another, company or another place, another hub or anything like that. We're looking at doing open standards and putting them in the street for people to build to whatever agencies want to do in the future. In the meantime, we're moving to open APIs to allow us to start transitioning some things. For instance, I called into my cable company, Time Warner, and they said, hey, could we do a digital voice print of you so we don't have to go through all this ID stuff in the future? What a great idea. So now we're doing that too. So things like that as we move into the future to make sure everybody knows what's coming and to make it so we move with the world instead of having the world come in and kill us.
During the tech summit in Indianapolis, when you were talking about the RFI process, you mentioned that there were some surprises there, and especially from folks that perhaps are not deeply and intimately connected with the tolling industry, people who are sitting on the outside. Talk to us a little bit about how that was surprising for you.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, when you look at tolling, you have to step back a little bit and look at it as a payment system, not just a tolling system. You talked about, in the past 50 years ago when I started in this, or 51 now, when I started in this industry, our goal was to move traffic. We really didn't pay a lot of attention to the money. At that point, it was just to move traffic, especially around the metropolitan areas, New York, Philadelphia, and Northeast. That was what it was all about. We've changed. We're now more of a finance system, right? There's a lot of finance systems that, how does these big companies, how does, MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Apple, how are they interoperable? How do they move transactions around? And they came in with, hey, we're moving 20 times the amount of money that you are, right? And we're doing it real time, or really close to real time. How about this? And some of the other things, we worry about equity and inclusion. I know IBTTA has spent a lot on that in the past few years. And we're always trying to figure out how not to be called the Lexus lanes, right? And how to have people be able to utilize our roads and help them. And they had a couple of concepts that they're working on in their markets, totally unrelated to tolling, right? And how to maybe not only help people with some transactions and some money like that, but also maybe do some educational stuff. My daughter does that. Try to, I think schools, and one of my board members is president of a university here. And I tell her all the time, I think back even to the elementary school level and high school level, we don't teach how to manage money anymore. You tend to get out of college and, now you have, if you go out on your own, you have to get an apartment and a car and all that stuff. And you make it, even if you start with making a big salary, you tend to overspend. And, and then people get in trouble and then can't get out. So they're already working on solutions like that they could help bring us into also. And that they are way ahead of us in technology as far as being able to manage the customer better. So.
Thanks, JJ. Great response. We have a question from one of our audience members. How is the tolling industry positioning for emerging technologies such as connected and autonomous vehicles? Maybe you can talk about what's happening in North Carolina, JJ.
Sure. I mean, we're looking at RUC on that side, road user charge. As you know, David Roy is the co-CMO of your meeting coming up.
Yep.
I would have plugged there, right? Electric cars, I have one, we don't pay gas tax, right? So there's some backdoor solutions where people are paying extra for, registration fees and things like that, but generally they don't cover well, or they cover too well, both sides of the spectrum there. We have to follow what's happening on the technology side again, so we can be part of those payment systems in the vehicle. It used to be, you go back and reflect back a little bit, and we were starting the transponder, we're talking about putting the transponder in the car, and everybody's like, it will be 15 years before the fleet changes enough to be able to do that. And right. So, that's not going to happen. So it kind of, there's one company tried it and didn't really go. Now it's software. Now you park your car in the garage, right? And they update an app or they put an app on. And now you have a payment system or a new safety feature or whatever in your car. So it's not 15 years anymore. People talk about, well, it's going to be a while before that actually transitions. Currently there's about 100 million vehicles in the U.S. that are connected, right? Again, if you could open your car with your phone, it's connected. And 90% of all cars coming into being sold in the U.S. are connected, and that number is going up. On the autonomous side, again, I have a Tesla, which is supposedly one of the more advanced. It's good on the highway. I would not trust it on a back road or in a city, right? I think they have a ways to go. There's so many variables on that. I think eventually it will happen. Heck, we're working on putting the secretary in a flying car, and our aviation group down here is our governor said we were first in flight. We want to be next in flight. So we're working on autonomous flight too. And you sit in that thing, it's out at our hangar, and you don't touch anything. It just takes off and takes you from the airport downtown, right?
Yeah.
So if it's a little bit easier in the air because there's not as many cross traffic things and things like that. But I think eventually you will see it. And if not, just the technology advances we've seen in safety systems over the year because of autonomous vehicle, it's been great, whether it's, automatic braking, or, blind spot detection, the visibility systems. We're benefiting already, even though we're not there yet.
JJ, there's a question here about sustainability, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on sustainability. The questioner says, back in 2020, you said there's a tremendous opportunity for us to be the leader in the discussion on finding a sustainable solution to fund ongoing infrastructure needs, both at the federal and state levels. Talk a little bit about that, as well as, the things that we in the industry can do to be more sustainable in terms of the environment, et cetera.
Yeah, so I think we're seeing some changes in funding. I was talking to some of the consultants and contractors at the meeting the other day, and right now there's a lot of federal funding on building roads, right, and infrastructure itself, but not so much for tolling. Tolling kind of missed out on that. But we're seeing a lot of movement on the public-private partnership side. Here in North Carolina and other places, we have 2 unsolicited right now, and we're starting to see some movement on that side. There's always going to be projects that maybe are further down the list or greater need that we need to figure out how to fund. I think tolling, there's a bright future, but we're going to have to be able to flex in a lot of different areas in order to move into that future. And we talked about technology, we talked about operations. I think finance is another one that is going to have to look a little bit different in the future and be able to flex into. But I think this, is a very sustainable, business, so to speak. But it may change. Who knows? We talked about highways in the sky too. I talked about, our flying drones. There's a good possibility that the FAA is always worried about, where do these planes go up and down, right? Because at one point, whether it's a military jet, a commercial jet, a private Cessna, or a drone, they all do one thing: take off and land, right? And they all cross the same paths. So maybe the highways in the sky are over toll roads or over our right of way. So there's a lot of things that we need to be open to look at. And I'm not saying jump into the deep water right away, but be open-minded enough to discuss, in an open manner.
JJ, we've talked a lot about technology and future technologies. but I know that the people side of the business is really important to you. And that's one of the things that's defined you. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about two people who've really had a big influence on you, Steph and Winnie.
Yeah, definitely. This is where I get emotional. So, and this is where the IBTTA family came in. A lot of you may not remember, but my daughter Steph, when she was 17, was in a really critical accident. Actually, she died in a helicopter, and they brought her back to life. And because the IBTTA family at the time pulled together, she was in prayer trains worldwide. People were praying for her and reaching out all the time. And obviously, she made it through. And she's, I'm a dad, so I'm prejudiced, but she's a great kid. Winnie, she's always there. I have a crazy career. If I didn't like what way things were going, and I wasn't able to progress, I wasn't able to help other people progress, I didn't stay, right? And she was always willing to move with me, always there by my side. We're married 50 years in January. So we've been together.
Congratulations.
Thanks. A little longer than that. And she's just an amazing person. A couple of years after we got married, my dad got really ill, and they moved in with us, and she would work through that. So just, marriage is, you have to work on it, right? It's hard. There's ups and downs. There's financial issues that always come up. And then when you have kids, that always brings something into the relationship too. But she's always been there with me, and always will.
That's great. That's great. Thanks for that personal reflection. JJ, you've often talked about how the little guys, the people operating the hot dog stand, the smaller agencies seem to be the ones that take the lead in innovation. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of strange, and I reflect on that occasionally. Back in the day, it was CFX, right? They started they were doing the in-road readers and stuff like that, and the transponders are bumper mount, and I think it's because the little agencies can be a little more flexible. We don't have as much bureaucracy as some of the bigger agencies with that, and and we're able to do, like, we can do pilot programs. We have a couple exemptions that allows us to be a little more flexible in technology and people to be able to grow. But it's usually a CFX, CTRMA, North Carolina. We've been, the little agencies really kind of push it. Although there are exceptions, like Pennsylvania put out this RFI, right? And they're a really big agency.
Right.
I think some of the labor issues in the Northeast restricted some of the movement up there too. I know when we did Easy Pass, that we got sued a couple times over different things when we went live. So I think it's the flexibility that the smaller agency has, and I think it's also some of the people that are running the agencies. You tend to be, and working at the agencies, you tend to be more personal. It's a closer knit family. I know here it's a family.
Mm-hmm.
We're a small group, and everybody has everybody else's back. Like I like to tell the story. We're doing a cutover, and our ops people are working 24/7, literally, and we're on a status call 5 o'clock one day, and it's running late, and they're probably going to be here till midnight. And my chief engineer says, "Hey, can I talk to your COO and you after this meeting?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, without what?" Right? And he says, "Engineering department wants to buy operations lunch on Friday."
Wow.
So it's great how that everybody comes together.
That's great. That's great. Hey, JJ, we got a nice comment here from Robert Tier. Congratulations. We're proud of you. Serving with you on the North Carolina Turnpike Authority has been a highlight of my professional career. Thank you for what you've done for North Carolina. So,
Well, but Pat, that's the other thing. I have a great board, and have they. Robert Tier, original board member, was here when I was here the first time. His granddaddy has a phenomenal story. They built part of Pennsylvania Turnpike, Blue Ridge Parkway. You know, it's Rob has been there from the beginning. The Research Triangle Park. Wasn't for our board and the support that we get out of our board, we would not be able to take a lot of the innovative steps that we do.
that's great. That's great. JJ, I'm going to make a couple of announcements and then I'm going to come back to you for some final words of wisdom. So, all our attendees, be sure to complete the survey that you'll receive at the end of Cafe IBTTA. We'd like to get your feedback. Upcoming events, June 4 through 6 in Salt Lake City is our Road Usage Charging and Finance Summit. June 8th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time is the next DEI book discussion. The book is Think Again by Adam Grant. And July 30 through August 1st, our Maintenance, Engineering, and Roadway Operations Workshop in Nashville. Those are 3 big events coming up. Check the IBTTA website for all details about future in-person and virtual events. Well, JJ, what final words of wisdom do you have before we sign off today?
Well, family's always first, right? Whether you're managing employees or working with your family, it's always first. You have to be happy at home in order to be happy at work. And, you know, never give up. As a speaker, we had the other night, Pat spoke. He was trying to land a jet on a carrier in the middle of the night. And after 6 times and 2 refuels in the air, he had no options, right? You know, I get a lot from people that, wow, if we make these changes, what happens to me, right? If you're part of the change, you'll make the spot. You know, you'll be part of the future. You have to, you know, lead, follow, or get out of the way. It's you look at companies like, you know, IBM who own the PC, or Compaq to own the clone, or Sony to own the video market, or look at Blockbuster who thought they didn't have to go into streaming, right? Be part of the change. Be part of the future. You know, you'll really appreciate it going forward, and you'll be able to look back on your career and really enjoy. Your family is your legacy. Your children are part of your legacy. Pat, I know you're close to your family too, and you know, just keep moving forward. Don't give up.
JJ, thanks for those words of wisdom, and congratulations once again on being inducted into the ARTBA Hall of Fame. Thanks so much for being with us today. And to all our viewers, be safe, keep in touch, and we'll see you down the road. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.